let's talk about comments. So comments are a hugely important thing when you're writing code that can often get overlooked, particularly if you're new to coding. So this is good practice to get into right from the off in your coding journeys. It is extremely important that whenever you're writing any code, that you leave comments that explain how various bits of code work. Now, it might be that you're explaining how a particular line of code works or a particular block of code, but you need some explanation in there. This is really important, not just if you gave your code to someone else so they can understand very clearly what each bit of your code is doing, but also, perhaps more importantly, to remind you what you've done. And believe me, you will forget why you've done certain things, particularly in larger, more complex pieces of code. So leaving comments, getting into the practice of putting comments around everything is really important. And there's basically two main ways of writing comments in Python. The first uses the hashtag symbol. So if you put a hashtag symbol in Python, that will indicate a single line comment. Okay, so you can then type everything. So you can then, whatever you type after that will not be interpreted as Python instructions. You can write whatever you like. It's just comments that the Python interpreter will ignore, and it's just for people looking at your code, including yourself. If you want to have comments using hashtag over multiple lines, you'd need to put a hashtag on each line that you want to comment. So the second you push enter here, you're on a new line. If you want another line of comment, you'd have to include another hashtag. It's also saying that everything, as soon as you put in a hashtag, everything on that line of code from that point forward becomes a comment. That can be quite useful because what it allows you then to do, if you've got a very short line of code, you can put a hashtag on the same line of code after that piece of code. So you can do something like this, A plus B, and then put a hashtag after it and say this code adds the values of variables A and B together. Now, I don't tend to like doing this. You're usually better off putting it above the code. But you may see examples of this. And of course, you will probably run into the issue of the 80 character width, which you should, as we talked about last week, you should not be going over. So it's generally better practice to put them above. But you may see this, and you can do this. The other way to do comments is you can use a triple double quotation mark character. So if you have double quotation marks, you have three in a row, that will open up a multi-line comment. Okay, so you can then start writing a comment, and it will continue to be a comment no matter how many lines it spans in your script, until the point at which you close the comment again by putting in another set of triple double quotation mark characters. Okay, that can be so these are really useful when you want to do a lengthier comment. It's also quite handy sometimes when you're testing your code. You just want to quickly switch off a piece of code because you're checking if something works. So you can use this to comment. It's what something is commenting out. So you can comment out your code to say just turn it into a comment. That way Python won't interpret it as code for a moment. And this, if you want to do comment out a big block of your program, you can use this approach to do that. And it's quite handy for you don't want to delete it all. You just don't want it to run for a moment. You want to just check something else. So that's you'll also see it used quite often for that.